for me, more than anything, I'm not afraid to fail. I think, when I'm talking with other women in particular, they feel like success is in some kind of a box. And I always feel like if she succeeds does not mean that you fail. And I like to cheer people on. I always have. I think it's something that's really lacking. My experience in the music industry, women were much harder on me than men were. They were much harder on me for my physical appearance. They were much harder on me for the content of my records, for what I was writing. So, honest to God, at 57 years old, you're either beside me or get out of my way. And but it's very relationship driven. I am working with people now that I worked with 20 years ago. And so I'm careful how I conduct myself. I'm that fourth grader that perpetually wants people to like me. And so that's kind of how I've lived my life. I'm not afraid to fail. I want to cheer other people on. And I think creating that kind of environment, specifically on our show, I'm very new to TV in this regard, was creating an environment, much like Logan said, where everybody felt comfortable, that we had lots of fun, and there was no assholes. And there wasn't. It was unacceptable to me to have people that were overbearing, that were not communicating properly, that called people out in front of other people. That just doesn't happen with us. I couldn't have done that at 30. I couldn't have done that at 40. I can do it now. It took me a long time to find my bravery and my voice, but honestly, I want to have fun. I want to enjoy myself. I didn't go into the arts to be saddled with sadness. And, I want everyone around me to have a great experience, and I want to create things for other women. So, I think it does start with the individual. You just spread the joy, cheer people on, cheer other people on.
I love the idea of not being afraid to fail and it being okay to make mistakes. Especially in an industry where so much of what is sold, is sold with a track record and it's going to work. You don't know if something's going to work, right? Everything is alchemy to a certain
Yeah, and that shouldn't even be the point. If something's going to work or not, that can't be the end game. You just have to be brave about it. I'm sitting here because I failed a lot. I'm sitting here because I have failed an extraordinarily, spectacularly epic a lot of times.
Saskia, what does an environment look like to you that's productive and what you're going for? What's the culture? What are some of the aspects of a positive workplace culture?
I think it's got to come from the top down. I've worked in enough places where how my day has gone has been dependent on someone else's mood and a culture of fear, and particularly actually from female bosses. And I suppose when I became, sort of a leader of a team, albeit a very tiny team, but then with productions, that's sort of my team as well. I kind of think I have to constantly self-evaluate and make sure that my behaviour is kind of setting a tone or a standard, and I don't always get it right. But equally, like Jan was saying, I want to come to work and I want to have a laugh. The previous place I worked in, it was like working in a library. We were not allowed to talk. It was an absolute culture of fear. We would email each other at our desks rather than talking to each other. And I don't think that creates a really, it's you want communication to kind of be able to extend so that if there is a problem, you can speak up.
Yeah.
So I do think, I've looked at bosses that I've worked for and kind of thought, I don't want to be that person.
It's interesting, I'm hearing a lot of, be brave, speak up, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. So far, I think we're building a pretty great workplace culture here on stage. I'm liking it. Logan, what do you look for when you're choosing jobs and what type of environment you want to be part of?
I wholeheartedly agree that it always stems from the top. every environment I've ever been in that I've loved the most has had great producers, great director. I want to be able to trust the directors I work with, and because I end up doing a lot of material that requires me to either go to a place emotionally or be doing things physically that are just, it requires a lot of trust. And I'll say two things. So one, the film I did with Allison Williams, her and I are love interests, and we have a romance scene. And I specifically remember our director, Richard Shepard, making that set the most closed set I've ever been on. What I originally thought of as a closed set, I realized, oh, there's still like 14 people in this room. It's not very closed. And then there are people at the monitors, so anyone can go actually see. I mean, it's somewhat still private, but I'm still feeling like, hey, can I get my robe? But with Richard, he only had, it was him in the room, away from us, and the only other person in the room other than myself and Allison was our director of photography, who actually held the camera. So it wasn't even the camera operator.
That's a lot less than 14.
Yep, it's literally me, Allison, and then 2 other people. Didn't need a boom operator. We don't need sounds. No, get out. And that was a new experience for me. So I'm always looking for someone I trust. And then on Dear White People, Justin is our captain, and he directs a lot of the episodes. He's our creator. This season, he hired more than half of our directors were Black, female, first-time directors, and that for me allowed me to see a representation in the workplace that I hadn't seen before. It's one thing to see people who look different on television, and people who look like the world looks on television. It's another thing to be able to see yourself in the workplace. And so I want to always work with people who are able to think outside of the status quo and who are able to break it with ease. It's not that difficult. Justin's it's not difficult to hire these people. You just kind of do it. So.
Right. I like that. How about you, as a leader of a department, and you are the person at the top because of the talent. I understand what you're at the top.
For me, thank you, Etsy, because there's a sign that I ordered that hangs in my office, and it says "Work hard and be nice to people." And I totally buy into that. It's sort of how I like to run my teams and my productions, but it's also something that our president Paul Pacieri believes in, and his whole model is, he lives it, and he truly lives it. So I agree that it comes from the top. I've been in horrific work environments, very badly. I've had a boss choke me twice.
Boss what?
It's happened.
Physically attacked?
Physically. So I've been in situations that are very different than the situation that I'm in now. But I think you kind of have to go through fire to understand what you sort of need in a culture and what you need to look for. And I'm a firm believer that, if you plant seeds in rocky soil, yes, there are going to be some strong things that come out of that, right? But it's coming from a place of a desperate need for survival. Mm-hmm. But when you have fertile grounds, especially in a creative environment, it just makes it so much easier. And so what you reap will be so much larger.
I am so sorry that you experienced that.
Me too, I was there.
Gosh, so it's interesting. It kind of brings me to a point I wanted to talk about, which is the potential for redemption and the power of apology. And in some of the things I've seen in the last year, I've come to think that knowing how and when to deliver an apology properly is one of the most powerful things that any of us, can know how to do in business. So I'm curious to hear how that may have played out in your experiences, either giving or receiving an apology, and how that may have turned things around. And I don't know if did you ever receive an apology for that?
I did it, but I have one mentor. It was great. It was I was in a totally different industry at the time. I was in publishing, and it was what I was in publishing, magazines. And what was awesome is I went on to television, and I had to take a pitch meeting one day. I've never from my boss, come in and pitch me. I want to hear all about it. Hear your pitch, you know. And I was gracious, but it was just a moment where the tables were turned and it was a different way to handle it, so.
I would have been like, bye, girl. Okay, wait, let me say, okay, so when it comes to apologies, I will say that as women, a lot of the times we are apologetic and times we don't need to be. I'm so sorry, oh, I'm sorry, oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. No. So one of the things that was taught to me by my family was even being cautious about using the words I'm sorry. Because what are you saying? I'm sorry, I'm a sorry person. I am sorry. Like, use my apologies, I apologize, forgive me, instead of using that there's a time and a place to use I'm sorry, like when someone passes away, etc. But yeah, I think just being cautious of not getting that into your psyche, because if you're constantly like saying I'm sorry for things, then you're
That's super Canadian.
is it?
Oh yeah.
Pretty
You'll
British,
stop.
yeah.
I mean, if you come
Stop
close to,
that.
like, if you feel a wisp against your leg in the grocery store, I'm sorry.
That is
Yeah,
there's a meme.
it's a joke up here about how much we say we're sorry.
There's a meme that my friend sent me. She called me. She's like, "Hey, you want to go to Pilates?" Or she texted me. She's like, "Hey, you want to go to Pilates?" And I was like, "I'm in Canada." She sent me a meme that was like, "Sorry." But okay, so I still stand by what I think. Not trying to like change Canada.
No.
But, no, but like you know, excuse me, whatever. You know, I don't know what I mean.
Yeah, it's semantics. I know it's a language, and further to that is being earnest about an apology. I mean, I've had a lot of people say, you know, I apologize, I didn't mean to do that. And I'm like, that's the shittiest apology I've ever heard, because you're not being earnest and you're not being real about it. I apologize constantly because I make mistakes constantly, and I always take, and I always didn't do this, but now I will take somebody's side and go, you shouldn't have said that. It was the wrong thing for me to say. And this is why. And you were not wrong in how you felt there. And I'm sorry. But yeah, I think apologies. I kind of agree with you, Logan, because they can be thrown out just like coins in a fountain. And I think there has to be thoughtfulness behind it and a real earnestness. And that's part of being a mature human being and accepting responsibility for your actions. This business, any other business, personal relationships, you know, across the board.
I mean, do you think it's kind of, in my mind, because it's a little bit tied to losing the fear of making mistakes. And I think, I was thinking of it as, definitely it's powerful to know when not to, right? So you're not disempowering yourself by excusing I'm sorry I'm here, I'm sorry I'm breathing, right? But if you can say, you know what, I'm going to own what I did wrong and that I put you or whomever in a bad position in a situation, and I'm not going to really ask for anything of you. I already put you out, because I messed up. To me, it's that's one thing I guess I found has given me confidence